Hey y'all, and welcome to Brawl. My name is Brian, and Kevin O'Leary clowns this know-nothing reporter who gets worse and worse in his questions, and finally, Kevin O'Leary drops a truth bomb that no one on MSNBC was expecting. Let's dive in.
And I've had enough. And so I would like this thing worked out. I don't care about the volatility. I don't care if Trump ratchets it up 25% a day.
What do you mean?
But
Wait, Kevin. What do you mean you don't care about volatility if volatility has a direct impact on us as the consumers?
Because we have to fix this problem once and for all. It's killing us. It's killing small business in America. It's killing large businesses. All the IP these guys steal. You go back and look at all of their technological advancements, and this is a personal estimation. You're going to find source code from American companies back 4 decades ago. These guys don't play by the rules. And administration after administration, whether it be European or American, have not dealt with this. It's enough. We've got to solve this problem. Okay. Now, if we have to squeeze Chinese heads to the wall, as I said yesterday when I was testifying, so be it. I'm willing to live with the volatility to get the long situation settled. I want to compete in China. I want to open up those markets.
If what you're saying is carried out to its ultimate solution, you're talking about the fact that China, the regime, has a system in place that is able to manipulate the world, its currency and everything else because of its totalitarian nature. Now, we can talk about what happened in 48. We can talk about what happened with Taiwan. We can talk about everything else. But Kevin, it's a reality. The Cultural Revolution in China killed millions of people so that people would remember that they had to remain silent.
What you're saying is,
I've had enough with China.
But you're good with it?
No,
you're okay with it?
No. On the contrary, but what I'm asking you is, what is the solution to dealing with China, a system that systematically violates human rights,
Here's how
and that
it works.
is able to use?
Well, you asked me, I'm going to tell you. You got Xi.
Okay.
He's the supreme leader for life. What keeps him in power?
Yes.
Keeping his people employed and fed. Now, when you shut down a factory, I think Janice Mackey-Frere just on before me, he's talked about this. When you shut down a factory, you put thousands, if not tens of thousands of people unemployed in China. They take burning torches, just like in a Frankenstein movie, up to the castle, and that's a bad outcome for the supreme leader. He knows that. Now, what's the largest consumer market on earth? The United States. Almost 40% of all goods consumed worldwide. What's the largest GDP? 25 or 26% GDP of the world? The United States of America. China needs the United States of America. We have the upper hand right now. We have the cards. Now's the time to settle this, because we may not be the largest economy forever, but right now we can squeeze Chinese, and I'm talking about the government, not the people, to comply with the laws and get a level playing field between China and the United States of America.
What you're calling for is a regime change in China.
No. We don't have to change the regime. Xi has to come to the table and understand he's got to work this out. Otherwise, there's a bad outcome for him. And listen, there's something else you should be aware of, and I saw this happen yesterday. It's now public information. This Paul Atkins guy was confirmed for the head of the SEC. And why that matters, I don't know if you saw that letter from Rick Scott, but he said, I'm not going to confirm you unless you agree to uphold the law that the previous administration did not uphold about delisting Chinese companies that do not abide by GAAP. There's billions of market cap right now listed on NASDAQ and NYSE companies that I have to compete with. I have to pay for the compliance costs. I have to be transparent. I have to abide by the law, and they don't. And they raise money with the same bankers I use, and I have to compete with them. And they're not being transparent. They have to get delisted. And Atkins, I guess, they must have an agreement because he got confirmed. As soon as he gets sworn in, start delisting these Chinese companies. This law was modified to only give them 2 years to abide and actually comply, and they didn't. So delist them. Why should I have to compete with them? Let's squeeze them. Just keep going and going and going until they start complying. That's what I want.
Y'all, just imagine what would happen if you were playing up against a team with 11 baseball players instead of just your normal 9. You'd never get a hit. Unless you magically manage to hit a home run or someone walks to the bases loaded, you are getting a run past home plate. That's what Kevin O'Leary is talking about here. The Chinese are coming into our baseball stadium, and the umpires are allowing them to use 11 ball players to our 9. And arguably, to some degree, we are told that our starting pitcher also has to use his other arm. I'm right-handed, so I would have had to pitch with my left hand. That ain't gonna go over well. That is fundamentally unfair. And furthermore, what they have been doing to American industries has not just been siphoning away a whole lot of our factory workers. Oh, no, no, no. It's much, much worse. Because during their Cultural Revolution, which, by the way, I'm going to get to this swarmy reporter here in a moment here. He almost had a wonderful moment, and then he just blew it. But ultimately, the whole point of the Chinese Cultural Revolution was to get them away from their traditional base and move even further into the dystopian, communistic nightmare fuel that made everything worse. Okay? Everything got worse because of the Chinese Communist Party. Millions of people died in the famines, all because Mao had no idea what farming actually does. That's something that communists don't really understand too well. They don't understand that you need a free market for food. What China has become, however, is no longer that same communist dystopia. It is a completely different one. It is a crushing surveillance state which will then use their own technologies to steal American information. Part of that Cultural Revolution was a scientific revolution trying to bring China up into the 20th century. Well, do you know how they've managed to compete? It wasn't by smelting pig iron in the backyard, which, by the way, Chinese peasants actually did. Complete waste, by the way. It was because, starting in the 80s and 90s, once everyone started using computers, guess who started stealing American secrets? That is the Chinese Communist Party. Okay? Do you notice when you have people from China coming around, they're taking pictures everywhere? Turns out the Chinese Communist Party encourages them to take all these pictures, and guess who takes a nice little look at all the pictures when they come back for development? That's right, the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, there's a fundamental problem with the system that we're going up against over and over and over again, and yeah, it's the fact that it is the Chinese Communist Party. But then this reporter is trying to lead Kevin O'Leary into a trap. And that trap is rather simple. Oh, are you talking about regime change? That tactic is so underhanded that I almost missed it on the first watch, and then I realized, wait a minute, you were setting him up. You were hoping to get a moment where not only would you make money off of your headline, getting people to view the fact that crazy Kevin O'Leary is talking about the Chinese Communist Party, we need to remove them. We need to do regime change in China. Yeah, that's going to go over well. How many times does regime change go over well for the United States ever since 9/11? The track record ain't good. If you want to talk about playing in ballparks with only 9 players, well, guess what? We then cut ourselves off at our own feet, and we'll only play in those ballparks with 6 and wonder why we keep taking L's. What this tariff war is an attempt to get China to start playing by the rules. And we're doing it behind the scenes with our own way of making sure that Chinese companies are playing ball. And that's what Kevin O'Leary's initial talking about. But that leaves us with another opportunity that what this trade war is really about. And I shouldn't even call it a trade war. It is basically a game of cat and mouse. And right now it's about tit for tat. But this is really the interesting thing that I think Kevin O'Leary is hitting on here. It's a buying opportunity of a lifetime, O'Leary said. That is about the tariffs and the drop in the market in an appearance on the BBC. Or is it a free trade, or it's free trade in a much better way in 6 months? You just don't know. But if you can't deal with the volatility and you're frozen, you're missing a huge opportunity. Basically, what he's trying to say there was buy the dip. When the markets feel like they're in flux, that's the perfect time to buy, because guess what? People are selling. You can buy at slightly cheaper rates. The market almost every single time in the past 80 years, ever since the Great Depression had Black Tuesday, I believe it was, the stock market has increased in value. That's what keeps happening over and over and over again, and we're not facing that population cliff anytime soon. Meanwhile, the Chinese, they're terrified of what happens if they lose face, if they lose standing, if they lose any of their value. Goldman Sachs has, after these tariffs, has said that they're going to lose half a percentage point of growth, which, by the way, that is massive when it turns out China is one of the top 5 economies in the world. That 0.5% was enough for them to realize that, oh, we probably need to be talking with the Trump administration on this. This might get them to start reforming their ways, but if it doesn't, well, guess what? We can play chicken here for a little while longer than the Chinese can. Because if they lose face, it's going to spiral out of control, and they fear that more than anything else. This is terrible journalism. All right? This is what the mainstream media wants time and time again. A ridiculous amount of chaos that doesn't benefit anyone but people writing the headlines. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.